Welcome to the Viking Age podcast, the official podcast of thevikingage.com. My name is Chris Schad. I write for the Viking Age Zone Coverage, Bring Me the News, and the Brookings Register. My co-host is Adam Patrick. He is the managing editor of the Viking Age, and we do this every Monday with a late week episode right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. We are also in podcast form on Apple and Spotify the very next day. But however you consume us, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe so you never miss an episode and we can spread the word to the masses. On today's episode, we will quickly chat about the trade deadline, which is on Tuesday. We'll preview Vikings and Jaguars, and of course, we will acknowledge him. But first, let's overreact to a Vikings win over the Indianapolis Colts. Adam, as always, as the guest, I will let you elect to receive or defer with the first overreaction of the day.
Well, I'm prepared today, so I think I'll go first this time, unlike last week. So the Vikings got the win over the Colts. Good to get a win after two straight losses. They're what, 6-2 now. Still in the hunt for NFC North. Still in the hunt for a top seed in the NFC playoff race. But I'm going to talk about someone specific, and I think after I say his name, people will know why. But last night, Garrett Bradbury gave the Vikings more proof why in 2025 they need to move on from him. The Colts didn't score any offensive touchdowns yesterday. The only touchdown the Colts had came after their defensive lineman literally ran over Garrett Bradbury and sacked Sam Darnold, forced a fumble, and then someone else on the Colts from their defense picked up the ball and ran it back for a touchdown. Bradbury wasn't good before he re-signed with the Vikings in 2023, and I think he's actually gotten worse since re-signing with the Vikings. This season, he's allowed the most pressures in the NFL among all centers. He's been flagged for 6 penalties, and according to PFF, his pass blocking efficiency ranks 40th among NFL centers after Week 9. There are 32 teams, and he ranks 40th, so great job. They can free up over $3.6 million by releasing him next year, and the transition to JJ McCarthy as the starting quarterback next year, it's a perfect time to switch to a new center. The Vikings shouldn't have given Bradbury a second chance in 2023, and he's proven why since then. So get him out of here. Just get him out.
I was listening. I was just setting up a little pre-production thing that I forgot to do beforehand, but I'm sure you like the caption. Garrett Bradbury needs to go. In 50 years, I think they're going to donate Garrett Bradbury's body to science to figure out how a 300-pound man can blow like a piece of paper in the wind every time he is brought up, because there are good things to Garrett Bradbury's game. He's a pretty good run blocker. Like, I think one of the things that bothers me the most about Garrett Bradbury is the bill of goods that was sold before the 2019 draft, right? Because the Vikings were just coming off Pat Elflein, and I don't know. I don't like Mark Schlereth. I think he's kind of full of himself, to be honest.
He won 3 Super Bowls, I think.
So. Correct. And he was like on I remember watching like sport, and I remember the weirdest stuff, but I remember Mark Schlereth was on an episode of SportsCenter once, and like he was on like The Young and the Restless or something like that. Oh, yeah. And he's like, yeah, my hands are so beautiful, and like I can't get it out of my brain, even though he's like tough football guy. Like, it's just like, all right, dude. I
think he used to pee his pants as like a method to like piss off defensive linemen or something, just so he would smell, so they wouldn't want to touch him.
Oh, I got you. Or like, or
he wouldn't shower because his nickname is Stink.
Right.
So I don't think he would shower. But
it's kind of like how the Iowa locker room was pink. I don't think it's pink anymore because people got upset about
the away locker room.
Yeah, the away locker room was pink because it would like get into people's heads like, why is the locker room pink? And then they would go face Aiden Fry's Hawkeyes and get their ass kicked. But I mean, we've been like coming into the draft. It was like Garrett Bradbury, 10-year rock solid starter. You couldn't ask for a better center. And like the expectations were so high when you took him with the first round pick. The first game he played, he had a 0.0 PFF pass blocking grade against Grady Jarrett and the Falcons. And you think, hey, that's a low bar. There's nowhere to go up but up. He is ranked top 5 in the league in pressures every year except for last year when he missed 3 games because of a back injury. So had he played those games, he probably would have been close to that top 5 mark last year. But I mean, the negatives outweigh the positives at this point, because every time I see that dude on his back, and the weird thing is Pro Football Focus gave him an 80 grade, which I don't know how you can watch that game and not be like, dude, their center sucks. Like I literally got angrier and angrier watching the interior of the offensive line last night. And I mean, Blake Brandel had a bad game. Ed Ingram had a bad game. And I mean, I'm willing to cut Brandel a little bit of slack because he is still new at the position. He gave up 5 pressures according to PFF. But like Ed Ingram, it's just like on the play where Grover Stewart clothesline Sam Darnold, and there's a whole nother conversation
ran
about
over by a guy named Grover too.
Yeah. Near, far. The football is far. Like far into the end zone. Just like Garrett Bradbury's ass. I knocked him on his ass. He can't have, he's got no sand in his pants.
We just lost a bunch of subscribers.
Yeah. Why is that dude talking like Grover? I like Grover, but we won't get into our favorite Sesame Street characters because we have another show after this and we have to think of other shows sometime. But I agree with you. I think they need an inside job on the interior of the offensive line and the defensive line. The offensive line was so bad they were dubbing DeForest Buckner, Grover Stewart, and Kwity Paye the Triangle of Terror, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, here's a guy like Chris Collinsworth looked like he did not want to be there last night. Like he was complaining early because like Justin Jefferson wasn't getting targets. So like, did you have the over on receptions or something? Right. Or what? I mean,
Tirico was like, I love Minnesota. Don't you love it, Chris? And he's like, yeah, it's great.
Here's a state that I don't want to be in right now.
It's just funny because I think he lives in Cincinnati. So
yeah,
not really.
Yeah. Not a lot of things. So here's my question for you after kind of talking in circles and doing Grover impersonations. Yeah. Is this something the Vikings should go out and fix at the trade deadline? Is this something that they need to wait until next season to do? Yeah. Like what do they do here?
I think free agency. I think you got to make it a priority. Cut him and sign, the top center in free agency. You're going to have enough money. Center is not an expensive position. You can afford it. You want JJ McCarthy to be your quarterback for the next 10 plus years. Invest in your quarterback. You traded a bunch of stuff to get him. So, make sure he can last and ignore probably whatever Ryan Grigson says and make sure you get the best offensive lineman to protect your young quarterback, because he did not do that for Andrew Luck. But yeah, I think Bradbury's got to go. I think they got to find probably a new right guard. Ed Ingram. I think you can keep Ingram for depth, but that project is over. And I think part of Brando's problem last night was probably, getting used to playing with Cam Robinson, who did really well in his first game after being with the Vikings for less than a week. I think he got a game ball too. Mm-hmm. One of 19 game balls handed out last night. But yeah, Brando's had a pretty good season, so I think he'll probably remain left guard. But yeah, center position. I think a lot of people were puzzled by the Vikings re-signing Bradbury, and I think they re-signed Madison that same offseason as well. And kind of people had similar feelings where it's like, these guys aren't good. Like, what are you doing? So I think it just got to be a priority. But, knowing the Vikings, Kevin O'Connell will probably spin and be like, oh, he's got 1 year left on his deal. We can figure. He's familiar with our system. He's great in the locker room. Yeah, but every time he goes up against Kenny Clark, Dexter Lawrence, Grover on the Colts. He gets
Hmm.
steamrolled every time, and it leads to sack fumbles. And McCarthy's coming off a torn meniscus. You really want him to have a lesser chance of that happening again. So fix that part of your offensive line when you're able to in the offseason. But I don't think they need to make a trade right now. Just whatever, just ride it out. It's hard to make an adjustment to a center in the middle of the season. So I don't think that's something the Vikings need to really do right now. It'd probably create more problems than they already have. So yeah, don't do it now. Just wait for the offseason and show them out the door.
Last thing on Garrett Bradbury, I will credit him for one of the best intros I've ever written, by the way, because him and Ezra Cleveland had that thing come out where it said they were rocking out to Three Doors Down in Nickelback. Coincidentally, the first concert I ever attended was Three Doors Down in Nickelback.
Oh,
So
wow. Superman.
Yeah, exactly.
Kryptonite or whatever that song is.
Yes, Kryptonite. So I did I did an intro where they were having a road trip and they stopped in the bathroom and I recreated the Dumb and Dumber bathroom scene with the Key Mix.
Wasn't he behind the Creed? He did the Creed stuff.
Yeah, he did the Creed stuff too.
Well, no. Kirk Cousins is gone, so we don't need to be playing that anymore. So
yeah, exactly. Think of a happy place.
He's happy. Kirk's happy right now.
Especially
after yesterday.
Well, give me a minute here, and I'll talk about Kirk Cousins a little bit. But right now, we got to focus on our current quarterback because that's my overreaction. All Sam Darnold does is win. We're all waiting for the clock to strike midnight on this guy, and I was guilty of it last night. Sam Darnold throws an interception, and as our friend Thor Nystrom, who was nice enough to join the show on Thursday, put it, it's like you've had too many beers and you fire up college football 25 and you throw an interception right into a guy's chest. I lost to Georgia 31-29 in the Natty last night after the game, by the way. Thanks for asking, but we'll be back. We'll regroup. I stayed up till 1 a.m. recruiting and trying to find
take away Georgia probably finally took away everyone's keys, so that's why they're able to win.
Yeah, I just hope everybody drove home safe after celebrating there. Ouch. Darnold throws another interception right after a Joe Flacco interception gives us the ball. And yet he still wound up with a great line, 28 of 34 passing, 290 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. There are going to be worse games for Sam Darnold. Look at the Jets game in London where he didn't play so well. But this is what happens when you have a team around the quarterback. The Vikings had 29 first downs last night. They averaged 5.8 yards per play. They held the ball for 36 minutes, and they held the Colts to just 227 yards of total offense. I saw a tweet, and it was from one of the Barstool Sports guys, one of their college guys. I can't remember their name because X's search feature sucks, so I couldn't find the tweet after I had read it. But it said the Vikings are a playoff team with Sam Darnold. They would be a Super Bowl team with JJ McCarthy. And I tend to agree because I don't want to have the fatalist approach like many people. Oh, if Kirk Cousins didn't tear his Achilles, we would have made the playoffs and got bounced in the first round. But oh man, we were on our way. This is still a damn good team with Sam Darnold at quarterback. And this game, when you look at everything, it had the potential to be a blowout. But we've seen a quarterback who has made mistakes like Darnold did early and let it get in his head and ruin the entire game and make things a lot closer than it needs to be. Sam Darnold, to his credit, is not the perfect quarterback, but he is that guy. And when he has a team around him, he is able to win games. And I think that's one of the most encouraging things that you can walk out of this game saying is, you know what? Darnold didn't play a perfect game. It didn't matter. We still won. We found a way to win. You have to get better if you want to win playoff games, but hell, I mean, half the job of being a good team is beating bad ones, and Sam Darnold did that on Sunday night.
Yeah, he's the 2024 version of Case Keenum, of 2017 Case Keenum. He's going to put up, he's going to do what you want him to do. He's going to make decisions that make you scratch your head, but then he's going to make plays that, you're like, oh, okay, that's why he's out there. I'll push back a little bit on the Vikings would be a Super Bowl team with Jason. we've seen your rookie quarterbacks make have bad games and make poor decisions because they're rookies and they're still learning. Even Jaden Daniels, the Commander's been great, but he's made plenty of mistakes this year. But yeah, I don't know at this point in the season if McCarthy putting McCarthy out there and watching his his head go all over the place where to throw the ball. I don't know if it would be that much better than Darnold. It'd probably be a little better because I don't know, he's more skilled and athletic than Darnold is. But at this point, Darnold has experience in the NFL. He's familiar with a bunch of defenses. He still makes crazy decisions in the pocket sometimes, but he's athletic enough to get out of the pocket, run for yards. I think he's just good for what they do now. But I will say that, yeah, after last night, I don't think he played well. I know his stat line was pretty decent, but he turned the ball over 3 times. You got to count that fumble too, that he gave up, and the Colts. He should be lucky that the Vikings defense played really well last night because that game could have gone a lot worse. And I think we'd be saying something much different today than Sam Darnold. All he does is win. If the Colts were. If the Colts maybe played Anthony Richardson, who knows how that game would have turned out because Flacco didn't really do anything.
It would just be an inaccurate statement though, because then he would have lost. But yes,
but yeah, I don't know. He's the quarterback now. He's what they got, and he should also be thankful that McCarthy can't play because I think the cries for McCarthy to play would be much louder today than they would just continue to be louder as the weeks go by because I think we've seen peak Sam Darnold this season, and I think I don't know if he's really gonna get any better than he already has. So it was fun. He'll continue the rest of the year, and he'll do you think a team will sign him to be a starter next year, or they'll bring him in to compete to be a starter? Because at this point, I think they'll bring him in to compete. I don't know if some team is ready to just hand over everything to Darnold, unless it's like a Rams team where Stafford retires and the Rams are like, yeah, we're comfortable with you. You can be our starter or whatever. I don't know.
I don't think he gets the Kirk Cousins contract.
No.
If that's what you're asking. I think
Baker
the
Mayfield.
Spot Track still has him at like 4,130 for his contract, and it's kind of like I don't think because like the national perception of Sam Darnold is still like, oh, Jets, Panthers, this guy sucks. I think he's better than that, but I also think like maybe he gets like Case Keenum.
Yeah. Who's giving him that? The Colts?
I don't know, man. The Colts are
Giants.
They are an interesting team.
Could you go back to the Jets?
Hey, Sam, it's us here in New York. Click.
Raiders.
I don't think he could hang up fast enough.
I think he'll be another bridge quarterback for somebody else next year.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, Case Keenum what did he get from the Broncos? I mean, it was a 3-year deal.
Was it $20 million?
Something like that. Yeah. Like maybe he gets a little north of that.
Yeah.
But...
I mean, whatever. At this point in Darnold's career, he should just be happy that he is able to make. He's going to make more money next year. That's for sure. I think that's a given, unless he gets hurt.
So Case Keenum got 2 years, $36 million with $25 million guaranteed after 2017.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like 250.
Well, it's got to be more than that because that was like 7 or 8 years ago.
Right. I'm judging for like quarterback inflation.
Probably get 30.
Get 25 mil a year.
Yeah, 25, 30 for sure.
Yeah, somewhere in there. I agree with that. Anyway.
But, yeah. So.
You're up.
All right. Next overreaction. So Tuesday, big important day in our world. Lots of stuff going on. Of course, I'm talking about the first college football playoff right now. Sorry. I'm talking about the no, I'm not talking about that either. I'm talking about the trade deadline in the NFL. Trade deadline, I believe, is at 4 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday. We've seen the reports. We've seen that the Vikings are going to be working the phones, see if they're interested in anybody. But I think unless they can work out a deal, figure out a deal for Dexter Lawrence, years. They just make a trade for Cam Robinson, but they felt they had to after Christian Darrisaw was lost for the season. They really didn't have another solution at starting left tackle behind Darrisaw when he went down. But other than getting Giants all-world defensive lineman Dexter Lawrence, I don't think there are really any players that the Vikings should consider trading that could help them beyond this season. They already don't have a ton of draft capital in 2025, so they should try and keep a hold on whatever they have. Who knows, what the future holds, but I feel like trading for someone other than Lawrence isn't really going to make the Vikings that much more of a contender than who they really are, because of the guys they can get. The names that are floating around, I don't think they make that much of an impact that would make a huge difference for the Vikings if they gave up stuff to get them. I think it's just probably better for them just to ride out the season and see how things go. If players get injured, then it gives them an opportunity to play younger players and get them reps. So unless they can work out a deal for Lawrence, I think they should just lay low during the season's trade deadline.
I tend to agree with you. I think Dexter Lawrence or Jeffrey Simmons, if you can work out some kind of deal with it. And the problem is, like, I don't really want to give up the 2025 first at this. It's tough too, because you can look at, the 2008 Vikings.
I'd give up the first for Lawrence.
First for Lawrence.
Because he's worth
it for Simmons. Simmons, who was drafted the pick after Garrett Bradbury, by the way.
Is he, what's his contract?
Jeffrey Simmons?
Is he a free agent next year?
Let's see what we got going on here.
Live podcasting.
Yes. Jeffrey Simmons is
they can get out of it next year, but
2027.
They can get out of it after next year. So I guess if you think he's worth it, that's up to the Vikings to decide. But I don't think I'd have a huge problem with that if they feel like Jeffrey Simmons is someone who can help them now and in the future. But that's the type of player
he's at a $4.7 million evaluation by Over the Cap, so I assume he's not having a great year. Dexter Lawrence, $23.3 million. So that would be the guy.
I think Lawrence is leading the league in sacks.
Yeah,
as a defensive tackle, he's John Randall. But those are the type of players like I'm talking about, like who their contract isn't up next year, and you're not giving up stuff to just get guys to fill holes like Blake Cashman's been injured, so I wouldn't want the Vikings to trade for a linebacker just to replace him, or bring in Marshawn Lattimore. I've seen he's probably going to be moved. I don't think the Vikings should do that. He would be better probably than Shaq Griffin, but I think like Shaq Griffin and what's his name, Stephon Gilmore, I don't think they've been terrible. And Byron Murphy's just picking off passes apparently every game now. So there aren't really a whole lot of like, if they got like Chuba Hubbard and they're like, well, he'll be our number 2 this year, and then next year we'll transition to number 1. Is that something maybe they could do? But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I'd really want to trade. I mean,
I don't want that. I don't.
Yeah. I thought he was pretty good. It's amazing what happens when you have a capable backup running back. Ty Chandler, breakout candidate. Yeah.
Have you seen that the Raiders rushing offense has like one of the worst EPAs per rush since like 2000? And I was like, oh, really? That's weird how Alexander Madison's in that backfield. Would have never guessed that could have happened.
Right. Yeah. The one thing about Aaron Jones is he does not leave yards on the field. Like, if anything, he creates yards on the field. I think there's even stats that back that up. What I don't want the Vikings to do is make trades that chase money. It felt like Cam Robinson was that kind of trade, but looking back on it, I think the Vikings needed to do that to go where they want to go this year. And if they don't make that trade, you maybe lose the locker room. I know that's cliche, but I mean, it's totally a thing. They've been talking all year about we're going to go further than people expect us to go. And, getting Cam Robinson in there is a way to accomplish that goal. They didn't give up a
lot to get him. So.
No. I mean, at the end of the day, I know I shouldn't go back in time and like trash guest cakes because I think Thor had a really good point. And I mean, I kind of backed it up and I wrote about it where, come this April in the draft, are the Vikings locked into trading back to get that draft capital back? Because, or if a guy like Ashton Jeanty, which Aaron Jones is a free agent at the end of the year, I mean, if the price is right, I think they bring Aaron Jones back, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Ashton Jeanty only had like 180 yards last game, so I think he's falling off.
Washed. He's totally washed. Michael Myers, this ass.
They killed San Diego State. That's who they beat.
Yeah. They probably, I think they killed him by a lot. So, I mean, they're probably like, all right, your day is done.
I think they had like 300-yard passing and 250 yards rushing. So, pretty good.
One area where I don't think the Vikings need to address at the trade deadline is kicker, because I know he missed twice last night. Will Reichert is still my tribal chief. I actually got texts from my mom. Let me just dig them up here because she, yes. What are you going to say about our kicker tomorrow? Me, he'll be fine. Her, no, he won't. We need to trade him. Get Daniel Carlson back. And I smartly said, we should just not carry a kicker. And she goes, wait, what a great idea.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of Viking fans hit the panic button as soon as he missed that 53-yarder, which that's going to happen. And by the way, a lot of you wanted him to miss anyway, so you shouldn't be like, oh, no, now he's going to go down the gutter. And then he hit the upright, which maybe he was trying to hit the upright. Or, again, not to steal Thor's tweets all episode, but maybe the goalpost was just in the wrong spot.
Yep.
Like, did he put it in the right spot? They just moved the goalpost in the wrong way. Last night, though, he was walking around limping. I don't know. He just making kicks. He made all 3 extra points in the second half, which if he doesn't make those, it's a 1-possession game when Indy settles for that field goal with 33 seconds left. So I don't know the injury. He's going to be just fine, guys. There's no reason to freak out. He's made every kick so far. He doesn't seem like a total head case like some kickers do. Even Justin Tucker is having a rough year right now. You go back, I mean, maybe Harrison Butker is one of the best kickers in the league. On field. And he had a rough go a couple years ago. So I don't know. I'm not panicking about the kicker. You shouldn't either. Will Reichert, still my tribal chief. Not going to acknowledge him today, but still my tribal chief.
I do think the Vikings will sign a kicker, at least to their practice squad this week. I think they have to. Because he's going to, I believe Reichert's going to MRI today. And regardless of what those results are, you got to make sure you have a backup solution. You don't want not having a kicker to result in you losing to the Jaguars next Sunday. But yeah, why was he still doing kickoffs? Why couldn't they have Ryan Wright just do that instead of having?
It could be they've never had Ryan Wright do a kickoff, so
which is weird to me. What? Why can't you do that in practice? Like, what else are you doing in practice?
Hunting, obviously.
Clearly can't.
He's a punter.
Can't do anything but that.
It would just be so Vikings if like Will Reichert had a torn ACL or something. Just like, oh man, he's limping around. Actually, we need emergency surgery to like save your...
And it was worsened last night by him doing kickoffs.
Extra points. Yeah. He did not look like he was having a fun time out there.
And luckily, it's week 9, so there's plenty of great free agent kickers just sitting at home waiting to be called. No, there's not. I think Greg Joseph just got hurt, so he can't bring him back. I think he's playing for the Giants. What's his face? Anders Carlson. He's playing for somebody else now.
Yeah. Viking fans wouldn't overreact to getting a Carlson back on the roster. But maybe that's who my mom was.
Should they sign that
Carlson?
What's that dude? Destroying or whatever? Isn't he a kicker or something?
Yeah,
but he definitely makes more money doing YouTube videos than he would making playing football. I think they'll sign a kicker at least the practice squad this week because they don't even have one on the practice squad. So I think they kind of have to just in case record gets to the game and a humid Jacksonville, which is a great place to go if you have a soft tissue injury, a humid place. They just need to make sure that they got all their boxes checked and covered and everything because that could turn into a disaster. Just ask wasn't the Giants earlier this year who could have beat the Commanders but their kicker was hurt, so they had to go for 2 every time and they ended up losing by like 2 or 3. So
yeah. All right, I have a bad segue here. We got Will Riker taken care of. You got one more overreaction?
Yep, I do. It has to do with a former Viking. That would be former Vikings head coach Mike Zimmer, who I believe is in the middle of his final season as a coach in the NFL. After yesterday, the Cowboys currently rank 31st in points allowed per game. Their pass defense ranks 30th in net pass yards allowed per attempt, and they rank 25th in sacks. Now, they've been without Micah Parsons for the last few weeks, but either way, I don't think the scheme works anymore for Zimmer. So they just went against Kirk Cousins yesterday and the Falcons, and Cousins pretty much torched him through three touchdowns, had over a huge passer rating. So unless something drastically changes, I don't think Zimmer will be back with the Cowboys next season, and if that happens, I don't think he gets another coaching job in the NFL unless it's some sort of like senior defensive advisor type of job, like somewhere else with like Sean Payton or something. I just think it was cool to see him come back this year and make another go at it, but I think the league has passed him by, and his scheme doesn't really work that well anymore.
As far as Zimmer goes, I think the pipe bomb interview, it probably was good for him to like get it off his chest and
season.
say it.
Yeah.
It may have also like damaged his opportunity to get a job anywhere else
For sure.
Because if I'm a head coach, it's like, all right, I'm going to get this guy who's going to blame all of his players when anything goes wrong. Sure. And like I've said, I'm on the record saying I think Mike Zimmer should be in the Vikings Ring of Honor for what he did. He's the third most successful head coach in Vikings history. Kevin O'Connell's very quickly climbing up that list. But I think what he did with that defense and the amount of Ring of Honor players that he produced during his time here in Minnesota, I think that's worthy of recognition. That being said, this reunion tour, the Cowboys are just a bad football team. They were a bad football team last year.
Yeah,
they just got a whole bunch of pick sixes, and everybody said, who gonna stop them? And the Packers rolled in, and Aaron Jones said, I will, and ran for like 150 yards and 3 touchdowns on their ass. It was a desperate move. And there's one guy, an 84-year-old owner, who is pulling the strings to all this thing, and they will not be a good football team until he is gone. They also now have the overpaid quarterback thing going on. I know Cowboys fans already had a rough week with the Yankees blowing it in the World Series.
But they got the Lakers to root for now.
Yeah, and half the fan base also is Dodger fans.
Who's the hockey
anyway,
team?
So.
The Rangers. Who would
Rangers.
the hockey? No, well, like who would the hockey? Who's the popular hockey team they would root for? Is there one anymore? Like the bandwagon hockey team?
I don't think there's Vegas Golden Knights.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, because like they got the Golden Child package from Gary Bettman.
I don't even know who would it be in the past, like the Red Wings.
Red Wings. I don't know, the
Devils. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of parity in hockey. That's why it's fun. That's why many Minnesota fans are feeling the wild.
Is that fun, Chris? Is it fun?
Huh?
Is it fun?
I love Matt Boldy. He's my favorite player ever. Bonafide superstar. Can't wait until he does absolutely nothing against the Stars and teams worth of fuck. But I'm just gonna go straight to acknowledge him now that you brought it up, because I was going to acknowledge Kirk Cousins.
Nice.
Because a lot of people, including myself, thought that Mike Zimmer would get the best of him, that he'd be sitting up all night, grinding, getting a red man in the upper lip and good old double decker in, bottle of bourbon in the other hand, just grinding tape and figuring out a blitz he calls the moss-covered three-handle family Gratunza that's illegal in 45 countries in all 50 states. And he did none of that. Actually, Big Kirko don't play that shit now that he's in Atlanta, because he brought the social media cameras over to him during his conversation. Like, how you doing, Zim? Yeah, good to see you. Yeah, what do you think was said there? Because I'm sure, you think it was something like, I really like Atlanta. I've been listening to a lot of Outkast. I've grown quite fond of them, actually. Or was it more like, Kirko needs his gat, you punk ass bitch. You want to talk shit about me? You want to talk shit about that? I'm coming for you.
I wonder if they talked about who's the coach that used to be in Atlanta that Zimmer called like a bastard or a coward.
Bobby Petrino. Check your trap. Get capped, Mike Zimmer. Take your other eye.
Oh man.
Yeah, 222 yards, 3 touchdowns, 27-21 win. Don't want to let it get too out of hand, so they kept it within a score, even though Dak left in the third quarter.
Cooper Rush.
Yeah. I don't know where he's going to get paid or where he's going to get traded to next, because remember, the Falcons used a number 8 pick on a 24-year-old quarterback, but this man is still the head of the negotiating table, and at 6-3, he's got the Falcons eating out of his hand again. So I know it's early. I acknowledge you, Kirk Cousins. And before we forget, if you acknowledge Kirk Cousins as well, you could play him on Underdog. Underdog is the place to play if you're a sports fan looking to win money while watching sports. With over 5 million happy players and $2 billion won, Underdog makes it fun and easy to cash in on all your favorite athletes' performances, compete against other players by just selecting higher and lower on 2 or more player stats, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money. So turn every touchdown to a win with Underdog. Underdog is the best place to cash in on all your football takes this season. Which players are going off? Which ones are ice cold? Make your entries in just a few taps and turn your sports opinions into real money. Underdog has vulture protection. If you select a designated running back to score a touchdown in your pick'em entry and they get vultured, they will rescue your entry. And Underdog also has a game known as Red Zone Rush, a game you won't find anywhere else. You just pick whether or not a player will score a touchdown by swiping right for yes or left for no. It's as simple as that. Plus, your entry will automatically be boosted, and you'll get a 51% profit boost when you play. I've actually been using Underdog for multiple years, and their app is super easy to use. Maybe you're a little bullish on the Vikings running game heading into Jacksonville, and you want to pick higher on Aaron Jones' rushing yards. Maybe you go a little higher on TJ Hawkinson's rushing and receiving yards like I did last night. Or maybe you're just bored during the week and you want to choose higher on Matt Boldy-Golds or Anthony Edwards points. Underdog has NBA and NHL too. Create those entries and start winning. Download the app today. Use the code THEAGE. That's all one word to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Select higher or lower on your favorite players and cash in on Underdog. You must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply, void in Colorado. If you are concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, 1-800-639-8783, or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. All right. We got that out of the way. Adam, what is your final overreaction? Or did you just gave your final overreaction?
I did.
Right?
I
got all messed up because I jumped.
Do you want me to do my acknowledgement, or do you want to do your final overreaction?
Let me give my final overreaction here, because Jordan Love, he's Brett Favre, without the painkillers and vodka. The Packers got obliterated at home by the Lions yesterday. Yeah. It was 24-14, but the Packers were down 24-3 at one point. Love threw for 273 yards, but had a hilariously bad pick six to Kirby Joseph right before halftime. The entire time he was limping around with a groin injury. If you've looked at Jordan Love's 2024 season, it's not great. He has an interception in every game, so go ahead and turn him up on Underdog. In 7 games, he's thrown for 1,820 yards, 15 touchdowns, and a league-leading 10 interceptions. I think he's a good quarterback, but that's the problem because the Packers gave him $55 million a year, that is. And again, it gets back to what I was talking about, Sam Darnold. As a team, the Packers had 6 drops, 10 penalties, 3 botched snaps, a pick 6, and a turnover on downs after getting stopped on 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, and 4th and 1. Now, when your head coach is the smartest guy in the room, just ask him, what is with the Sean McVay tree too? Like the whole Shanahan, like everybody's just a giant dick. Like I
Kevin O'Connell.
Well, I was getting to that point. Like Sean McVay sounds like if hey, we're going to go to Vegas with Sean McVay. Oh shit. That sounds fun. He'd probably be fun. Kevin O'Connell. I'd have a couple beers with KOC. Seems like a cool dude. But then there's like Matt LaFleur, who's like, just, I'm so smart. I know everything. I crafted Jordan. I turned Malik Willis into a winning quarterback. There's Kyle Shanahan over in San Francisco who wears this flat brimmed hat and runs his players into the ground and can't understand why everybody gets hurt every single year. Great. I survived my guillotine league despite taking Christian McCaffrey 2nd overall, by the way. So I can't wait for him to play like 5 snaps next week and have him totally get chopped. It hurts. It hurts. Yeah, man. I mean, Jordan Love, again, I think he's going to be a problem for the Vikings for a long, long time. But this year has certainly shown some flaws with the idea of, well, just pay your quarterback. You don't know what else is out there. Just pay him because I don't know. I know the Packers are 6-3. They have the same, the Vikings are 6-2 because the Packers are going to a bye. So, I mean, the Packers are a decent team, but they could be that much better if they weren't paying their above average quarterback $55 million.
Let's give credit to the Lions too, because they're really good.
They are. The Vikings were the one team to go blow for blow with them.
And the Bucs. The Bucs are the only team that beat them.
Yes.
Before they lost all 9 of their receivers. The Lions are good. The Packers are, on the quote Dennis, the Packers are who we thought they were. They're above average team, but are they good enough to beat some of the best teams in the league? Probably not. I would actually compare Jordan Love probably to like prime Jay Cutler on the Bears.
Okay.
So like, yeah, you have to worry about him, but he's going to make mistakes. And he can beat you, but you can also like rattle him and make him play a terrible game. So I think he's probably closer to that right now. But Brett Favre had seasons like that too, where I think he threw like 25 interceptions one year.
Yeah. And that was an era too, where like receivers could or defensive backs could beat the shit out of receivers and nothing happened.
So yeah, that was a rough game. I was very surprised by the outcome yesterday because Jared Goff typically not that great. Not that he had a great game. But outdoors, the Lions typically aren't good. For some reason, they play really well at Lambeau. I think they've won like their last 3 or 4 at Lambeau, so it's like their second home, I guess. But yeah, I was impressed by the Lions. But now they play the Texans in Houston, and I think next Sunday night that could be an interesting game, depending on CJ Stroud if he wants to play well or not. So, but I'm curious about that game. But yeah, Jordan Love, he's all right, but not worried about him just yet. All right, so for my acknowledgement of the week, I'm gonna go with Vikings rookie pass rusher Dallas Turner, who he got to play for more than 3 or 4 snaps last night. It was crazy. He actually got on the field for 48% of the Vikings defensive snaps last night after playing a total of 7 in the last 2 games. And guess what? When he got to play, he made plays. It's weird how that happens. He finished with 4 pressures, second most on the team, 2 tackles, and 1 quarterback hit. I have no idea why he didn't play very much in the previous 2 games, if it was injury related or internal, being late to meetings or whatever. I don't know, but he got more playing time on Sunday, and he made the most of it, and he should continue to get more playing time moving forward because he's really good, and he's way better than Patrick Jones, the second. Yes, Dallas Turner, I acknowledge you this week.
I was thinking about, and I mean, you gotta remember too, Dallas Turner was kind of like a bonus. Like the Vikings didn't think they were gonna get him, and then all of a sudden he was there, and they added him after they had added Andrew Van Ginkel and Jonathan Grenard. So when you look at those two, you're kind of like, well, yeah, what's he gonna do? But even like spelling, like next wave, I said it's like Jihad Ward, who's actually playing more
good,
interior snaps than edge rusher, and then you have Patrick Jones II, who his win rate has gone in the tank after a hot start. I don't know. I want to see more of Dallas Turner. I mean, like I said at the beginning of the season, I liked his skill set. I liked what he brings to the team. The first play he was on the field, he had a speed rush on a blitz and like just about killed Joe Flacco
from like the nickel spot.
Yeah, I was like, okay, more of that, please. It's nothing against Grenard and Van Ginkel because they're playing so well. Like, I understand that Dallas Turner is not going to be an every down starter, but at the same time, I think there's a role for a player that talented to help out your defense. And maybe it's a deal in the second half of the season. He gets more snaps. I don't think this is a Lewis Scene situation.
No.
Like that's kind of what everybody had PTSD about was, oh my God, he's not getting snaps. Why isn't he getting snaps? He's on special teams. Turner is more physically, and if he were on another team, let's say, I don't know, let's say the Falcons took him with the 8th overall pick. He might be having a little bit better rookie season, a little more playing time, but I do think this is kind of a slow play with him because they have the talent in front of him and he's going to be just fine. I would like to see more in the second half of the season.
Yeah, at least be ahead of Patrick Jones on the depth chart because, like you said, Jones is, I don't think he's had a pressure. I don't know if he had any last night, but before last night, he didn't have a pressure in like the last 3 or 4 games for the Vikings after, having a bunch in the first few games. So when someone's producing 0 pressures with like 50 snaps on the field, you should probably give someone else a chance to see if they can at least get one. I think Dallas Turner did that last night, and hopefully they keep using him moving forward because he's talented. And like you said, he doesn't have to be out there. He doesn't need to be a starter, but he's someone you can mix in there, a fresh body, get in there. And the Colts offensive line is not terrible. They're probably one of the better offensive lines in the league. And Turner did really well against them.
So there you go. Very quickly, because we're running out of time here. Vikings Jaguars on Sunday.
Yeah.
Very easy. We'll preview it in our later week episode, but what are you thinking as the Vikings go to Florida?
This is what I have written down for the Jaguars for the preview for next week. Jags bad. That's what I wrote. So that's our scouting report. The Vikings are currently favored by 4.5 on FanDuel on the road to go to the swimming pool, to the land of Schad Khan.
Tony Khan.
But his dad owns the team.
Yes.
He built
Schad Khan sounds
Trevor
like a
Banks Stadium or whatever.
Too.
And I think they're renovating it now too. They're going to make it look like an actual stadium.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot to feel, I don't know, worried about with the Jaguars. They're not good this year. They've got a bunch of injuries. I think Brian Thomas got injured last week and he's not playing. Christian Kirk's already out. Travis Etienne hasn't played in a while. They really don't have a whole lot. Cam Robinson, it's going to be the revenge game. They're going to, if the Vikings win next week, I would put my life savings on Cam Robinson getting a game ball unless he gives up like 5 sacks.
They just know him.
Yeah. So, and I'm pretty sure he'll divulge some secrets. Or will this be the Ezra Cleveland revenge game where
he's hurt though, isn't he?
Yeah, you know what? I think he is. I just saw that too.
Yeah.
But he can still help out in the meeting rooms. He can still get revenge. And then if the Vikings blow out the Jaguars, do they get Doug Pearson fired? So that's something I guess to keep an eye on. But thankfully, this game has not been flexed to Sunday Night Football, and it'll just be a noon game, so we can just get back to not playing at nighttime, and the Vikings will play the Jaguars at noon this week, and I believe they play at noon the following week against the Titans, against another exciting AFC South opponent. So, yeah, I would be very surprised if the Vikings lose to the Jaguars on Sunday, but like I posted yesterday, I posted the GIF or whatever of Jesse Spano from Saved by the Bell doing the "I'm so excited" and then "I'm so scared" because that's Vikings fans before every game where they get super excited and then but deep inside they're just like, I'm so scared.
I'm still writing the house money theory, even though they're super. I mean, it's just kind of like, all right, let's see what happens here.
Yeah,
It's a good way
NFC
to
is
make.
still NFC, like as good as the Lions are. NFC is still pretty wide open. Like you could argue the Rams are maybe the best team and the second best team in the NFC after the last few weeks because of the way they've been playing. Maybe don't punch people in the face, Puka Nacua, but yeah.
Puka just showed up to like destroy the Vikings, and then he's like, "All right, I'm gonna be hurt and throw
He's
punches
like,
at people."
my leg hurts. I gotta get out of this game, so I'm just gonna throw a punch.
Exactly. Hey, what's going on at the Viking Age?
We'll be keeping an eye on the trade deadline, of course. Still be reacting to the Colts game. Keep an eye on Will Reichard's injury. See if that's hopefully, fingers crossed, good because Vikings and kickers, just good things always happen with that relationship. So praying for the best. And then we'll start looking ahead to Sunday's game against the Jaguars. So yeah, check out VikingAge.com. Follow me, Adam Patrick NFL, on Threads and X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, follow me for some fun takes, I guess. I don't know.
Well, this is the Viking Age podcast. As he mentioned, he is Adam Patrick at Adam Patrick NFL. I am Chris Schad at the Real Chris Schad. We do this every Monday with a late week episode right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. We are also in podcast form on Apple and Spotify the very next day. But however you consume us, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode and we can spread the word to the masses. For Adam Patrick, I am Chris Schad. This has been the Viking Age podcast.